Okay, and we're gonna start recording the mixer in 5, 4, 3.
Identifying as a mom, daughter, conservative, friend, parental rights activist, Republican Party delegate, lover of freedom, conspiracy theorist, mama bear, and force to be reckoned with, this is Raising Liberty with Lindsey Beckham. Good afternoon. I am so excited to be back this week after having a week off last week. And, I feel like it has been a year with all of the events that have taken place in the last 6 days. So today I am joined by, someone who has just really become a best friend of mine and even more so like family. So, Kit Hart is here, and she is a big part of Moms for Liberty. She works with our research team at National. She is the chapter chair of Carroll County in Maryland. Kit, how are you today?
Lindsay, hey, so great. Thank you so much for having me on. This is so exciting.
Yes. Absolutely. So I guess maybe we should start by kind of talking about like the craziness that's happening, the things that we've seen take place the last week that are just kind of history in the making. So last Saturday afternoon, I was actually you and I were on a phone call with a friend of ours. She was talking to us about something that had happened that day, and we hung up, and I get a text that the president has been shot, or the former president has been shot. And so of course, the first thing I did was text you guys because we have a group chat. There's 5 of us, and we talk every single day. We talk about everything happening, in our own lives personally and, in the political world, in the Moms for Liberty world. And so, Kit, where were you when you heard about what had happened Saturday?
Yeah, I mean, you're right. We had just touched base and been a support to one another as we often are. And I happened to be on my back deck, and I was actually power washing and kind of checking my phone intermittently. And then I saw the text from you guys actually, and that's when I found out. Obviously shocked, horrified. I told my husband right away. We fell down to our knees. We brought our kids in the room with us and kind of let them know what had happened. They, of course, had a lot of questions, but I said we don't know the answers to all of them, so let's just pray. So that's how. Yeah, and you're right. I mean, it feels like that was a month ago. I mean, I can't believe a week ago we were in living in a different country. I feel like in some ways.
Yeah. Yeah, and it's kind of been a kind of a joke, a running theme with us that I have talked about, and you and I have both have talked about this. You live in Maryland, so
Mhm.
your governor there is is someone who I feel, and I've been saying for a long time now, he'll be on the ballot. I really think he will be the Democratic nominee for president. And so a lot of people laughed at me and they're like, "We don't even know who that is," but I feel like you understand why I feel that way. Tell us about your governor.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. When you said that, it really kind of struck a chord with me because I've been seeing Wes Moore and how he has attempted to change our state. I mean, as you know, we're deep blue. We are incredibly liberal in our policies. We had Governor Hogan was our first governor in many decades that was a Republican prior to Wes Moore, and he wasn't in a lot of ways he wasn't truly conservative. I mean, he didn't he forced the masks on us. He really wanted masks on kids in schools. So he didn't necessarily uphold the conservative values that you and I adhere to. But that's just how it is in Maryland. Like that's as Republican as it's going to get. But then we get Wes Moore, and he is as absolute far left as you can be. So recently, I'll just give you a quick example of one of the bills that passed this past session, which was it was a gender affirming care act, basically saying that Medicare had to fund the transition, quote unquote, of anybody over the age of I okay, don't I can't remember if it was 16 or 18. We were fighting the 16. It was 16. Um, so anybody over the age of 16 could receive any type of quote unquote gender affirming care, including but not limited to, of course, puberty blockers, cross sex hormones, the surgeries, and in addition to very superficial things like your voice lessons, voice surgery, throat surgery, shaving, very, very superficial things that you and I are saying, hey, I mean, we can't even, hey, how about we get highlights paid for by Medicare if that's going to be the case? If,
Yeah.
getting, hair implants is going to be covered by Medicare in Maryland. So he's very radical. And when you said that, I said, absolutely right. You are so, so correct in that assessment because he is the next Obama. I mean,
Yes,
we
he
saw
is.
how not many people really knew Obama until he outside of this probably outside of the state of Illinois, not many people knew him until he ran for president and he was embraced by not only the Democrats, moderates. They didn't have any idea how he would completely reshape our nation and bring in DEI and just the division he's caused. That's Wes Moore, but worse. So Wes Moore is him, but worse. So it's sad to say, but yeah, I think he's going to be a big face of the Democratic Party. If not on the ticket, then pretty soon.
Yeah, and so if you don't know who Wes Moore is, obviously right now he's the current governor in Maryland, but he graduated. I mean, just to give you a background, graduated from Johns Hopkins University. He got a master's degree, and he was a Rhodes Scholar. He served in the Army. He became an investment banker. He's published 5 books. He is also he's even got the Oprah Winfrey connection. He hosted a show on her network, and he just everything you read about him screams political greatness or Obama.
Yeah.
He's very captivating. He's a good-looking African American man, the first African American governor in Maryland, and the third African American person as elected governor in any U.S. state. His wife is very impressive as well. You look
Mhm.
at this; they're almost like a political Democratic liberal power couple, and so we are starting to see now that it looks like Biden may not be the nominee. And if that happens and the Democrats choose to forego Kamala, they're going to need a minority to overcome sidestepping her. And I'm hearing now that they may be at the convention having the delegates vote on maybe 4 candidates. I don't even know how they're going to pick those candidates, but if that's the case, I feel for sure Wes Moore will be one of those in the running in that race.
Yep. You heard it first here. That is for sure. Westmore will be one of those 4. And like you said, he is completely captivating. He will he is a force to be reckoned with. And also not many people know how radical left he is. So they see, just like we did with Obama, we saw this very attractive couple. They have 2 wonderful kids, beautiful kids, who are in private school, by the way. Although he is very against any kind of charter school, any kind of school choice, but he has his own children in private school, and we're going to see him. So it's funny that you say that too, Lindsey, because we see the stark contrast between how Trump chose his VP versus how the Democrats are going to choose their next nominee, whoever it is. It's all going to be based on identity politics. They have to have somebody who's, you know,
Mhm.
who's not a white male
Well, they've
be on
pushed
that
DEI
ticket.
down our throats, so
Right.
they have to kinda go along with that narrative.
Yep, yep, absolutely right. And Westmore is a huge fan of DEI. That's what he bases his entire administration around. He hires people to fit into a DEI category.
Right, and to kinda back up just a little bit, let's talk about you, Kit. So you're a mom,
Yeah.
you have 5 children like myself, and Tell us how you got involved with Moms for I mean, let me tell y'all, Kit is the OG Joyful Warrior. So we call ourselves Joyful Warriors, and she got the actual Joyful Warrior award at our first summit in Tampa, Florida a few years ago. And she was voted on, by her peers, and then I think National ended up choosing who actually wins that award. But Kit, you are joyful and you do fight hard. You are a warrior. So tell us how you got involved with Moms for Liberty and what made you want to go down that path.
Oh, thanks. Thanks so much, Lindsay. That's very kind words coming from you, who I think is just embodies the joyful warrior spirit. So yeah, like you, I was fed up during COVID and could not stand watching my sweet little Patrick 4-year-old go into his kindergarten class with his face mask. It broke my heart every time. I mean, I shed so many tears over that visual. Additionally, I have a child with ADHD. He had those plexiglass partitions, which did absolutely nothing, and they were such an inhibitor of just his concentration. I mean, they were basically there for him to fidget with. They did absolutely nothing else. And then my Danny, my sweet Danny, he at the time was in kindergarten, and he has a very severe stutter. And I just noticed that stutter was getting so much worse because as he was learning to read, he couldn't mouth the words. He couldn't mimic the words that his teacher was trying to teach him. So time and time again, I tried to fight with the school and the school board about these insane policies, and I just felt like I was getting nowhere, and I was alone. I didn't have anybody else that was as passionate as me or believed in their heart that this was child abuse.
Mhm.
So when I heard about Moms for Liberty on the Megyn Kelly show, I immediately, looked into the organization, and as they say, the rest is history. That was back in actually exactly 3 years ago, in July of 2021. So I mean, Lindsay, I think you could agree with me to say that this organization changed my life.
Mhm.
I'm a different person. I'm a more educated and knowledgeable and measured person, because instead of being angry at what our government is doing to us, I have the tools and the resources to fight back, and I have the network to do it with me now because of our organization.
That's exactly right, Kit. That's so true. And, a lot of us have those tools and resources because of the work that you do. So you're a part of the national team. Tell us what you do with the national team.
Yeah, it's a huge honor being part of that team. Robin Steenbeck is, I mean, as you know, she's just phenomenal. She is a former military, and just so impressive with everything that she does. She's so thorough. She's the head of our resource team and has developed an incredible wealth of knowledge for her own chapter, and kind of which is in Williamson County, Tennessee. So any listeners, if you are curious about literally any topic relating to education, go to the Williamson County, Tennessee chapter of Moms for Liberty. We are going to basically take her model that she did for her chapter and develop that out to be a national resource toolkit. So any kind of issue that you're worried about, whether it be gender ideology or restorative justice or critical race theory, we are taking those topics and we're creating toolkits for our chapters so that you have everything that you need to, first of all, educate yourself, because that's the most important thing. You need to be to discuss to discuss to discuss the, it says
Yeah,
laws.
I hear you now. It got a little dicey for a second. I think you're back.
Okay.
Are we good? You're a
Okay.
little
Okay.
blurry, but is your Wi-Fi strong or
It
it looks
should
like
be
it's
strong, but you
connected?
know what? The kids just turned on a show. Let me text Andrew and tell him to take to turn it off, because I mean, Lindsay, it is
I know, I know.
yeah, we fight for Wi-Fi over here. So
Oh, look, look,
Randy.
I understand that with 5 kids at my house too, so it's a struggle. It is a
It
struggle.
is right. So I guess I don't know how much you caught of that, but what we're developing, it's going to be a game changer for parents
Mhm.
who want to advocate for their children and really understand the topics and be able to speak authoritatively about them. So each topic will have a very expanded toolkit. You'll have articles, videos, kind of like a true and false quiz to see how expert you are in this on each specific topic, and then just a ton of excuse me, knowledge for for you to go out and teach your chapter. Excuse me.
No, you're fine. Yeah, that's gonna be so beneficial for our new chapters that are coming on board, and we have a lot of those that are kind of getting, you know, orientated and learning about what we do on a day-to-day, not even a month-to-month, but a day-to-day basis. So,
Yeah.
this is gonna be so helpful for these new chapters that are coming in. Nick,
And I'll also, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt,
no,
but
go ahead.
I'll also put a plug in for our book club. So, oh my goodness, every month we have a book that we are focused on relating to education or some
Uh-huh.
aspect of it. So we've covered James Lindsey, we covered Abigail Schreier, and the cool thing about this book club is that after everybody has a chance to read it over the course of a month, at the end of the month we have an exclusive meeting with like a Zoom kind of like this meeting with
Mhm.
the actual author themselves. So it's really cool and interactive. We get to bring on chapter chairs and other people throughout the country who are able to interact with the author themselves. So it's very unique in that way and really interesting. So if I mean, I really encourage your listeners to pick up the books that we're advocating for and endorsing, and then join us on our monthly calls.
Absolutely, and one that we have coming up is Riley Gaines, the book that she just wrote. And if anyone doesn't know who Riley Gaines is, I just really encourage you to look her up. She's phenomenal. She's so encouraging. She's a warrior, and she was a swimmer who ended up having to compete with biological men. Now, Kit, you have sort of a common theme with that as well. So tell us about your kids and their swim team and kind of what y'all have had to deal with in Maryland.
Yeah. So I have, as you mentioned, 5 children. 4 of them are swimmers. My 4-year-old isn't yet on the team. They have to pass a pretty serious test to make the team. But I have my daughter is 12, and she is a very competitive swimmer. Um, and I'm not going to brag, but just to give you some kind of,
It's okay if you do,
com-
it's okay.
just to kind of set the stage a little bit. Like for example, we had a meet last night that it was an invitational, and it included all 7 pools from across the county. So it was a pretty big meet, and it's an invitational. It happens every year. It's 39 years old, and um, we basically are able to determine who are the fastest swimmers in the state, or I'm sorry, in the county. And she won the blue ribbon. She won every single one of her races. So she is in her age group, definitely the fastest swimmer in the county. And then as far as the state is concerned, she has made the state meet and will go on to compete statewide. And so, like I said, she's very competitive, very talented. And our concern is that, like Riley Gaines, I mean, Riley was unaware that she would be going up against a male until very soon. I mean, her race was coming up. The
Mhm.
national championship was very close to happening
Right.
when she realized she was going to be competing against a male. So as a mom, I'm very aware of this. I do not want Lainey having to go up against a male ever. Not only because it's not fair, just because he's a male. Like, I don't care, he can have all the physical advantages you want. I don't care if she even beats this guy. It beats a guy, but I don't want her
Mhm.
having to swim against a male. It's wrong. So
Right.
we looked into my sister and I looked into the policy for USA Swimming, and unbeknownst to us, this was not made. None of the parents were made aware of this, but it turns out that USA Swimming has a policy that swimmers can compete in the gender, you can compete based on their gender identity. So a male
Mhm.
who identifies as a female may compete against girls. So we approached our swim team about this. They kind of they deferred to the like the state board or whatever it is. And they kind of took their time getting back to us and eventually came back to us and said, yeah, according to USA Swimming, this is the policy. And still, we said to our, my sister and I said, well, the parents need to know about this. At the very
Yeah.
least, they need to know that this is a possibility and they need to have a plan made up for their daughters. Well, no, our swim team never, or the entire USA Swimming they do not they do not make parents aware of this policy, and that is disgusting to me. So
Mhm.
I decided, well, if the team isn't going to make the swimmers aware, if the club isn't going to make the swimmers aware, I'm going to do it one by one. So I started wearing a shirt. I made a shirt in the team colors because we're required to wear the team colors, which are black and gold.
Uh-huh.
I made a shirt that said "Save Women's Sports" across the shirt. Well, so that's what I'm doing. I'm going to leave it there. I'm wearing the shirt because I think parents need to know, first of all, that their daughters have the potential to go up against a male, and also just to make a statement that we do need to be working proactively to save girl sports. They are not going to just stay. Our girls are not going to just are not going to be competing in a few years. It's going to be the male athletes versus the really terrible male athletes is what it's going to
Right.
turn into if we don't proactively fight this.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I think, one thing I hear a lot in Mississippi from our legislators, from our school boards is that we are, or people view us as a very conservative, deep red, far right. And that stuff can never happen here. We have a super Republican majority in the House and the Senate here in Mississippi. And
Can I move
they
there?
say,
Can I move in with you?
come on, come on. The more the merrier, right? I mean, I don't know if we would ever sleep with 10 kids in the house, but we can make it work. Andrew might kill himself, but we would we would
We'll
make
make
it
it
work.
happen.
We'll make it happen. But, yeah, so they say things that can't happen here, and I will agree to some extent. I don't face the issues that you do, Kit. Like, you have really had some obstacles. Tell us tell us what you have faced in Maryland because of the stance you've taken and because you've used your voice to speak out on these issues.
Oh, Lindsay. I mean, I've received multiple death threats from people. Most recently, I received a death threat from a teacher in Baltimore County. It wasn't so.
This is one of the in the video?
Yes, yes. And she had a picture of me. She quote tweeted it and said, "Officer, I didn't mean to murder her." And then went on to post other things about my demise and killers. And she seems to be very obsessed with the idea of killing, death, and in relation to me. So it's very concerning. And just, kind of the pushback that we've had from, you know, not only not only leftists, but also other, conservative groups in the area. I don't know what it is, but conservative Republicans always seem to kind of want to eat their own, and
Yeah.
they consider Moms for Liberty a threat. Have been very effective. We've done some really amazing things in our county. Um, we exposed multiple very explicit books, actually 56 of them, to our state board. And once we showed them what they had in their own libraries, which I'm talking graphic, I would say
Yeah.
pornographic material, very explicit. This was a lot of them were just straight up erotica, or sex manuals that taught kids how to access kink and porn safely on the internet. That's a direct quote from one of the books. They were appalled. Our board was appalled, and after about a year of trying to get books removed and trying to replace them with better books, we finally were able to convince them to implement a policy that will require them to make sure that any books that enter the school system are very well vetted and do not contain sexually explicit material. So we've done that. We also were very much on the front line of implementing a flag policy, because we believe that the only flag that unites us all is this one right back here.
Mhm.
And that's the one and only that should be flown in our state government schools, along with,
Right.
of course, the state flag and the county flag, perhaps. But um, we decided that no, pride flags do not belong in our school. That is not an inclusive flag. Not everybody identifies with the pride flag. We find it offensive.
Mhm.
And so we were able to do that. But yeah, in the face of all of that, we've witnessed a lot of backlash, a lot of hatred, from the side that, of course, as you know, says that love is love, and include everybody and all of that. So it's been interesting, but worth it.
Your chapter did something I thought was brilliant. You you took I guess, the money that y'all have raised, different fundraisers and things, you took it you bought books, certain books that the left has claimed that have been banned by Moms for Liberty, and you went to an event, and you took these books and handed them out. Tell me, how did y'all get that idea? I just think it was really brilliant.
Well, thank you. Well, as you know, they have a false narrative that says that
Right.
we are the ones that are banning Anne Frank and Animal Farm and Huckleberry Finn. Of course, those are not the books that we're banning. We would love to have those books in our schools available to all of our students. They're classics and
Mhm.
they're wonderful books. And so it was during the Easter, that kind of time of year, and we have a very kind of famous event in our town. It's funny. It's funny. It's called the Peep Show, and people throughout the state and even just the region come to our area with these very intricate designs of created by Peeps, the marshmallow candy, and they get very creative. I mean, it's actually a wonderful to watch. Well, um, while we're in this turmoil of having this book policy be implemented, there were several displays that were brought into the show. One was actually created by Board of Education candidates, the liberal candidates, and then a couple other people throughout the county. And they created these displays that were basically saying Moms for Liberty bans books. We read ban books, and trying to turn this fun, family friendly, wonderful community event into an anti Moms for Liberty event. So of course, we wanted to get we were a little enraged about this, and
Yeah.
we said, that's really not fair. I mean, let people come, let them enjoy it. This should not be a political event at all. So we said, we're going to do something that's also not political. We will hand out the books that they have displayed on their little displays, trying to implicate us as to the people who are banning these books. So we, like you said, we got some donations, and we purchased hundreds of books, and we set up a booth at the same location where this event was happening, and we just started talking to people and handing out books. And you wouldn't believe it, Lindsay, I mean, so many people were so grateful for what we're doing, and we had really
Yeah.
productive conversations, got to really get out in the community. It was fantastic. It was marvelous.
That's a huge thing is that people don't understand. They really if they talk to us and they read about what we're doing, they probably agree with us on way more than they realize. If they would stop listening to the left narrative that's being pushed, then they might understand what we're doing to protect children, and that's our mission. Our mission is to, you know, just empower parents and help them defend parental rights because those are their rights to raise their children the way that they see fit. So I
Yeah.
think it's great that you guys did that, and I thought it was just a great idea, a very smart idea. And you know, one thing I do want to say is that there is not a single Moms for Liberty chapter or member who has ever banned a book. You know, I think the biggest thing that we have asked for is that they just make sure books that are in our public school system are age appropriate. That's
That's
all
right.
we've ever asked for. So, when this whole narrative is pushed about how we are banning things and we're book banners and book burners and we're a part of a hate group and you know, it's just so wrong. It's not who we are at
And
all. And
it is 100% our First Amendment right to appeal to the board and say to them, I don't think this book belongs in the school system. Now,
Mhm.
that's where it ends. That is our role. We leave it into this, and then it's put into the system, and that is where it ends. Then it is up to the review committee to take a look at the book and for them to determine whether or not it belongs in the system. We never make that decision. And that needs to
Right.
be made very clear. We are not the ones banning books. We're the ones that are, and I should, they're never banned because they're always available on, anywhere you go, but except for maybe a public
The
school
public school.
library.
Yeah.
But all we're doing, our role is just to present the material and ask them for their opinion and their review, and that's all we do. So I think we need to make that distinction also, is that we are just appealing to our First Amendment right. We're saying that we don't believe that these books belong in the school, and we're asking them to review them. That's all.
Absolutely. Kit, you had a video that you posted to your Twitter or X account, and, actually, why don't you tell everyone what your Twitter account is, because you're actually really close to 10,000 followers, and we have a conference summit coming up in DC next month, and, I know your goal is to kinda hit that 10,000 mark so that we can go live on your Twitter so everyone can see what we're
Yes.
doing.
Yes. Yeah, so I mean, a year ago, I probably had, I don't know, maybe like probably less than 1,000 followers. And then just through some posts that I made about certain things that were happening in Maryland legislatively and otherwise. I had a few viral posts, and it just boosted my exposure. And so in a year, I've gone from about 1,000 to probably to I just hit 9,000 yesterday, as you know,
Yeah.
and I would love to be able to hit 10,000 by the time we get to Summit. So, like you said, people who can't come with us to Summit can kind of experience it through my lens.
Absolutely. What's your account? What's your handle?
Oh, sorry. Yes. So it's 5 sweet hearts, spelled HARTS, my last name, underscore. 5 sweethearts underscore.
Sweethearts underscore. So y'all go follow Kit, but and you really need to go follow her and go look at these videos. Was it last week that you posted the videos
Yes.
from? Okay, tell me the school that was happening in.
So I'll just give you a little background. I just actually met with a news organization for them to tell the story of what happened. But as probably your listeners know, Baltimore City schools are awful. And when I say awful, I'm just going to give you an example. 23 of them, 23 whole schools, had not one student who was proficient in math in a year. There were 23 schools that literally had 0 students proficient in math. Okay. So a couple weeks ago, I was speaking at an event that was in Baltimore City, and a mother comes up to me afterwards, and she said, "My son's school is so bad, and I have not known what to do about the things that he has brought home, some of the videos that he's taking right there in the school, and can I just have your help with that, kind of exposing this?" And I said, "Of
Uh-huh.
course." So the first thing she showed me was a crossword puzzle. It was titled "The Transgender Terms," and this was done during health class. And there were about 20 terms that he had to fill out in, just a basic crossword. But these
Mhm.
were things, Lindsay, I mean, it was so insulting to the intelligence of a ninth grader. It's one of the questions was, um, the colors of the transgender flag are blue, white, and then in the word box was the only color pink. So, I mean, not only is this a complete indoctrination and just completely inappropriate and irrelevant to a child's health class, but also just insulting to their intelligence. That's the only color in there. It's the only one with 4, spots for the boxes. So
Yeah.
it just was disgusting to me. I said, this is what he's doing in ninth grade. So I posted that, got a lot of feedback from it. People, as you mentioned, these are not far right parents who are opposed to our mission. These are normal parents. 90% of parents believe that boys do not belong in girls' sports. 90% of parents believe that kids should not be given cross-sex hormones in order to change their
Mhm.
sex because it won't happen. So she was appalled by that. And then she said, "Kid, it gets worse." So she
I was
shows
about to
me
say it gets much worse.
yes, she gave me a video of her son in just a regular class, and he was taping another child who was being 100% berated by
Yeah.
the teacher.
Y'all
And
have
when I
to go
say
watch this video. Go to Kit's Twitter. Y'all gotta go watch this video. I was horrified when I
I
saw
mean,
it.
I saw it and I just sat there for a minute and I was like, this happened in school by a teacher. I mean, talk about cussing out, using terms that you can't
You
use,
yeah,
like
like,
you just don't use.
"Suck my
Saying
dick," saying this to a student.
saying that to a student, saying
This is a
just
female
yelling.
teacher.
Yep, female teacher yelling at a male student, "Yo mama, yo mama, yo mama," over and over and over again, saying how
Mhm.
y I mean, you just have to watch the video.
And the first thing
So,
I said to you was, "Surely this teacher was fired immediately, correct?"
no, the teacher is still employed, as the last I checked, which was a couple days ago. So, you have to go and look at this video, see for yourself what's happening in Baltimore City Public Schools, and it's not much better in certain schools throughout the state and throughout the country. I mean, we're seeing in all of our cities. This is Baltimore is not an anomaly, unfortunately. There are, luckily in some of the outskirts of the cities, some of the schools are a lot better, but in most of the city schools, you're going to see this be not,
Kind of a common
unfortunately,
thing.
not uncommon, right?
You know, we the government or the state government here in Mississippi has claimed that there's been a Mississippi miracle, and everyone's kind of watching Mississippi to see how we have come so far and made such strides in education and how we're doing so well right now. And, I do wanna I am proud of our schools, but
You've
I
worked
hate to say
so
that.
hard, Lindsay.
Well, I'm proud of that
You-
that we aren't facing some of the same issues that I see happening across the country, but we actually didn't make huge gains, but it looks as though we did because the rest of the country fell so hard, and, like you said, there are children who can't do math, they can't read. We've got the majority of students who can't get past that 4th grade or that 3rd grade reading level, and it's like,
Mhm.
why is it so wrong that parents ask that their children are taught how to read and write and arithmetic? What is wrong
Right.
with that?
Yeah, yeah. And the worst part about it is these kids aren't being taught. They aren't passing the state math exam. They aren't proficient in reading, but yet they're graduating. So these
Uh-huh,
kids are going to college, going out in the workforce, going to the military. They can't even read. And that's the worst part is we have this graduation inflation because all the administrative state cares about is just making sure that they look better on paper. Their incline on the graph looks like they're
mhm,
graduating more than they did 10 years ago. And really the kids are just not they're not well. These kids are
yeah.
not well, unfortunately, both mentally and academically.
And it's not hard to understand, especially when you look back at 2020 and COVID and the masking, and how can you expect children to learn that way? We
Right.
did such a disservice to our students during that time, and I know you had one in kindergarten.
Mhm.
It's like, how can you expect to teach a child in kindergarten how to read when they can't see mouth movements, they can't visualize how you are using pronunciation? It doesn't make sense that anyone thought this would be okay.
Right. And not only that, I mean, we're seeing mental health just
Right.
plummet. Um, you know that tragically, one of my friends just lost a child who took his own life just this past
Yeah.
weekend. And I am convinced that this is happening at a rate that is so tragic and so large. And a big portion of that is, well, I mean, there's a lot of factors, but I think a major factor was COVID and the way that we told our kids it doesn't matter. You don't need to socialize. You don't need to be part of a community. You don't need to be educated. That those things are not the most important thing. The most paramount thing is that you are safe and you're in your bubble and you don't and you just listen to authority. That is what they were told for so many years. They missed out on so much. And these kids who are now graduating from high school, graduating from college, they missed, and they know they missed out. And
Mhm.
so their mental health is wretched.
Right. I mean, we look at what happened last Saturday with President Trump, and this 20-year-old has decided that he's just gonna go shoot the president. Now, I'm a conspiracy theorist, so my mind has run wild with all of the possibilities of what could have actually happened, but
Mhm.
you look back at the last 4 years, 5 years, and a 20-year-old probably does have some mental health issues, a
Yeah.
lot of them
Yeah,
because of the way things have been
absolutely.
handled.
Right, right. It's the way things have been handled. And then we give our kids these devices, and they have the world at their fingertips and are able to
Mhm.
access pornography and every every possible thing that can damage them. And we're sending them off to school with them, and they have unfettered access to everything on the internet all day long, and it just needs to stop.
Absolutely. Tell us kind of about, like, your school board. Do they seem receptive when you speak on these issues at all? Or I know here, it just seems as though I'm kind of ignored, and so I get more done at the legislative level. It's kinda like, I'll just if you won't listen to me, I'll go over your head kinda thing. But, what is it like with your school board and your Board of Education in Maryland?
We were very lucky to campaign for and elect a conservative school board. So we have a 4-to-1 conservative board right now.
It's
And
highly impressive in Maryland, that's a great job.
we are very lucky in here in Carroll County. I mean, we are holding on to our conservative base like nothing else, and we're being very villainized for it at the state level. We've been smeared by legislators and just saying calling Carroll County racist and homophobic and all of the terrible things that you hear. But yeah, so we elected four really wonderful conservative school board members and a liberal who's moderate and very she's very brilliant and kind of understands where we're coming from. She was 100% against the books that we showed to them. Anyway, so we're very lucky that way, and they are very receptive when we come and we speak, and they actually thank us because we are able to bring them and show them things that they were otherwise unaware of. The bullying problem, for example, the cell phone problem. We're bringing these things to light, and we're showing them that these things are happening, and they can't be in the schools all the time. We're parents, we're in the schools a whole lot more than they are, and so they're very thankful. As far as Title IX is concerned, the last time I spoke at a school board meeting, which was just a couple weeks ago, I spoke on Title IX, and I let them know what these changes mean to our girls. And luckily, the four school board members that I have a contact, communication with, they were aware. But I think we need to make parents more aware. So, like I said, they are thankfully more receptive than many school boards are.
That's a good thing, I know I know that you're thankful for that for sure.
Right.
And you've
Mhm.
had James Lindsey, who wrote The Queering of the American Child is his most recent book. He's written several. He came and spoke to your chapter. Did Chris come? Chris Elston?
Yes. So Billboard Chris came to our chapter. This was probably 2 years ago. Yeah, it was January of 2022. So we were still fairly new. I hope I'm getting the dates right. But yeah, he came and spoke to our chapter. He happened to be in DC, fairly, around that same time, and agreed to come. He was phenomenal. And then James Lindsay came and spoke, and he's of course, as you know, brilliant. And I mean,
Yes.
everybody has to follow both Chris and James Lindsay if you aren't already. I mean, they are. I call them like our uncles. Like they are our
Yeah,
big brothers who
they
always, yeah, have our backs.
they look
And
out for us. They really do. They're like the guys that just kind of oversee us and make sure we're safe and look out for us.
totally, totally. I mean, we need these men. I mean, we need the
Yeah.
moms, of course, but we need strong men. I mean, more now more than ever. And we're just seeing this. emasculization of men, and I think so many men are afraid to speak out and afraid to be protective because they're demonized for it. But we have, people like my husband, or Chris, Billboard Chris, or
Shout out
James
to
Lindsay.
Andrew.
Yeah, thank you, thank you.
His husband, he's really, you guys, he's plugged in and he cares about what's happening.
Thank you. And he's the reason I'm able to do my work. So yeah, I couldn't do this if it weren't for him. But we're so lucky, Lindsay, that we have these strong, courageous men who are put, like, they put themselves in front of us, and they will be there to protect us and make sure that we are safe so that we can
Mhm.
do this very important work.
That's exactly right, and if you don't know who Billboard Chris is, so he's from Canada, and he spent a lot of time over here in the States, though, just really advocating, against this gender affirming transitioning that's being pushed down everyone's throats right now. So what he decided he was gonna do is make himself a human billboard, and so that's exactly what he did. He walks around as a billboard. He has these big signs that say, these different things that talk about, this whole, gender and
He,
transitioning issue, so he's been so successful doing that.
yeah, his big one of his big mottos is there are two sexes, zero genders, and infinite personalities. And he's so right, because when you think about it, gender was just a term that was coined just in the 1950s by John Money, a pedophile.
Uh-huh.
And
He's the doctor
we
that did all those studies, right, on the twins?
Yep, he did the studies on the Reimer twins at
Yeah,
Johns Hopkins, close to where I live.
and if
And
anyone doesn't know what that is, look it up, it will make you sick.
100%. I mean, what John Money did to those Reimer twins, who both of them ended up actually committing suicide because they were abused. One of the twins was born. Do you want me to tell a little bit of the story, Lindsay?
Yeah, tell a little bit of backstory.
Okay. So one of the twins was born with a micro penis, and the parents didn't know what to do. So they took their child to this Dr. John Money, and Money said, "Okay, you're going to raise him as a girl. Just tell him he's a girl. Put him in dresses. You know, do all the girl things with this one twin, and raise your other twin as a boy." So that's what they did, and year after year went by, and eventually the one that was being told he was a girl realized, wait, I am not a girl. Like, internally he wanted to do all the boy things. Like, he
Right.
was physical, he was aggressive, like he really I identified as a boy, which is what he actually was. So despite all these efforts to feminize him, eventually he realized, I think eventually his parents told him, yes, actually you were born a boy. He suffered severe mental illness. In the meantime, during this experiment, Money was doing all kinds of things to these twins. He was trying to stimulate orgasms to see how many orgasms a child could have.
Yeah.
He was making them perform sex acts on one another. He was really trying to, in his efforts to figure out if gender could be separated from sex. He was doing all of these awful abusive tactics. And eventually, as I mentioned, they both ended up committing suicide. One died of an overdose, and the other died another way, tragically, another way of suicide. But all that to say is that he was the mastermind behind gender ideology. He was the one that coined the term gender to be separated from sex, and he was a very, very sick human being. So that's where we get this horrible ideology, and people need to understand that is actually the basis for this, and the foundation for this belief. Because once you understand how disgusting it really, where it was born, you
Mhm.
realize, like, this was not well intended.
No, not at all, and it's just so, so sick, and then we saw this week, actually, California, Gavin Newsom pass a bill saying that kids can transition at school, and the school can't let the parents know that this is happening.
Right. That's right.
So, I say all the time, we're born with unalienable rights. They're given to us by our creator. Our parental rights are those rights, and government does not give us those rights. So therefore, they should not be able to take them away. And but we're seeing that happen. We're seeing them overstep their boundaries when it comes to parents and parental rights. And that's where Moms for Liberty comes in. And that's where we say, no more. You will respect us as parents. You will listen to us. We know our children. We know what's best for them. No one is going to want better for their child than that child's parents. So
Mhm.
we're going to continue to fight and fight like hell with a smile on our
With a smile
faces
on your face.
because our children are watching and we have been called to this mission.
Amen. Couldn't have said it better myself.
I think you did say it in our video. We did a 4th of July video, just, kind of telling people about Moms for Liberty and who we are, and I think we kinda split it up 5 ways because there's 5 of us who just talk all the time, and I think, Kit, that was your part, and 'cause it's
That's
just so
right.
good. That actually came from one of our co-founders, Tiffany Justice, and, she says it with such passion and authority. I don't know if anybody could ever say it, as well as she does, but she's, we've got some great people in our national team who are just constantly pushing to give us all the tools that we need to be successful in our mission. And so, Kit,
Yeah.
I just applaud you. I'm so proud of you and living in a state like Maryland where you are and being able to be successful and get things done at your school board level, at the legislative level. Y'all had an amazing legislative day this past legislative session. And, I know that you are a big part of that. And you are the epitome of a joyful warrior. And I'm thankful to call you. I mean, you're not only one of my best friends anymore, you're more like family to me. And so I'm very thankful for you and all you're doing. And I love you so much. And I'm so thankful that you were able to come on today and talk to us.
Oh, Lindsey, I adore you and I really admire and respect everything that you've done. So keep it up. And I'm so glad. I mean, we can't do it without each other, right?
Exactly.
We're bound
Exactly.
together. So
Absolutely. You can't get rid of me even if you try, Kit. Well, thank you so much. I appreciate you taking the time to come talk to us today.
absolutely. Thank you so much for having me.
Yes, absolutely. Okay, well, I think we're gonna talk a little bit real quick about our sponsors. I don't know if you guys can see my shirt, but it's the Vote Felon 24. What does it say? Make liberals what? Make liberals cry again. I think that we've done a good job of that this week. If you've been paying attention to all the things happening, it's been a crazy news week. Lots of historical events that are taking place. And so, my friend Clay Edwards, he's got the Clay Edwards Show on WIB 103.9. You can listen and stream that live on WIB.com. He's Monday through Friday from 7 a.m. to 9 a.m. But he has this is one of his shirt designs. He's also got the FAFO shirts, and this weekend he is having a sale. You can go to buyfafo.com and everything's $20 on his site. He's got flags, he's got the FAFO shirts, the tank tops, the Vote Felon shirts, and you just enter the promo code FAFO20. Everything is $20 on his website. And he also has partnered with Men's Health of Mississippi. So if you are suffering from any kind of symptoms like decreased muscle tone or lack of energy, fatigue, no motivation, brain fog, low libido, not sleeping well, then you may have low testosterone. So you can text Clay, CLAY, to 601-327-8550, and they will get you in and you'll get a free, some blood work, free testosterone screening, and they'll let you know what could benefit you. And I know Clay has really benefited from the testosterone therapy that he's been doing with Men's Health of Mississippi. And I think he's been on that for a little over a year now, and I talked to him, and he just feels like he's so much more motivated, he sleeps better, and he cannot advocate for Men's Health of Mississippi enough, so go check out his shirts, get your testosterone levels checked, and also Clay has a co-host several days a week on his show now, and that's Sean Yerkeron. He's got the Yerkeron law firm. So, okay, I'm about to read his ad. I don't know what this says yet because he just sent it to me right before I started. I always get a little nervous when I read Sean's ads. You just never know what it's going to say. But he says, "Are you?" Here we go. Are you involved in a deep state government conspiracy and don't know where to turn? We are here at the Yerkeron Law Firm to help. Sean has practiced law in Mississippi for 19 years, with over a decade of that as a prosecutor in Hinds County at the Mississippi Attorney General's office, and has the experience to handle any situation that you may have gotten yourself into. You can call or text him anytime at 601-906-9094, or you can find him at onetextlaw.com or on his Facebook page. And his quote that he's just famous for is, "Remember, just because you did it doesn't mean you're guilty." So if you need any law help, that's who you need to call, the Yerkeron Law Firm with Sean. So I appreciate both of those guys so much for sponsoring the podcast and continuing to encourage me and just really kind of be in my corner and motivate me. I was able to go on Clay's show twice this past week and co-host with him, and we hit all these really hard topics, this breaking news that has not stopped coming all week. So stay plugged in, go listen to Clay. He'll keep you up to date on all the things. And I just appreciate you all for listening. And we will see you guys actually this coming Monday, Shad White, 9:30 a.m. We're going to be live with him. And I'm so super excited about that. We're going to talk about all things DEI and, the things that he has uncovered in the public school systems and the colleges and universities in Mississippi. So you don't want to miss that one for sure. And we'll see y'all Monday.